So instead of every other stupid video on the internet that just gives you the fish and says, here's the fish, now be reliant, be dependent on me, I'm going to teach you how to fish. So instead of just sharing with you the script, which I will do, I'm also going to teach you how I write scripts for myself, for my setter team, and for my own agencies, and bring you through my thinking process behind the scenes of making a script and of how I view cold calling to book hundreds of meetings every single month. So with that being said, let's dive into the first section of the cold call, which is introduction and establishing rapport, right? You want to start the call with a very chill, personal, casual approach that kind of eases the prospect into having a further conversation with you. Now, there's many ways you can do this. I've even created a video titled the best SMMA cold call openers, but you want to keep it simple. And so one example of the hundreds of openers you could use is something like, hey, this is Stefan calling. Is this John? They'll be like, yeah, this is John. I'll be like, hey, awesome, John. Are you still a realtor down in Arizona? Oh, yeah, I am. What's up? And I'm like, well, here's the honest truth. I'm one of the 17 guys calling you today to sell you something. If I told you that was true, would you want to hang up? Right? Now, instead of framing it as hey, do you want to give me 27 seconds? I'm adding a bit of humor in there and also sharing the purpose of the call. Okay, so introductions. I just want to share who I am so they know who's calling, even though they won't know me. It's just a formality thing. Initial questions. I like to establish a bit of context, right, by asking a very simple question about the profession. This is just nice because it gets them complying and following my lead by me asking the questions. And then I like to use humor to disarm the prospect and let them know my reason for calling, right? So, obviously in this case, I'm one of the 17 guys calling you today to sell you some marketing stuff. If I told you that were true, would you hang up? Right? That's just one example. There's so many other different openers you can use. Just one example. Okay, but using humor to tie into the purpose of the call. Okay, so this lowers the tension and creates a relatable tone where they can be like, okay, fair enough. Go ahead. What do you have? All right. Now, after they allow you to continue talking, now they have mentally bought in to listen to you. This is really important. This is why we ask for that mini little commitment of, hey, can I keep pitching you? Can we keep talking? Because when they say yes, they subconsciously have told themselves, yes, I'm going to listen, and therefore they will actually continue to listen to you when you pitch them. Okay, this is when you transition into your value prop, your offer, your pitch, whatever you call it. So after you establish your rapport, transition to the reason for the call. Do not mansplain. Do not go out there and tell we run ads by doing this and this and this and that. Keep it clear, keep it direct, and keep it value-driven, focus on the outcome. And so for context, just an example of a script I wrote is, so the reason I'm calling is we're working with a few agents in the Florida and Phoenix area, helping them just get a couple extra listings every month. Follow up. Do you work with sellers at all or just buyers? And the reason why I'm asking a question is to make them feel like I know what I'm talking about and also to keep control of the conversation. Every time you end a sentence in cold calling, you have to end it with a question. Otherwise, you give the prospect control, you give them the ball, and now they can start calling the shots. They can start giving you objections, and you don't have to answer to them instead of them answering to you. All right. And so I first tell them why we're calling. And the reason why I say a few agents in Florida and Phoenix is because obviously, as you can tell, this agent is from Arizona, which is in Phoenix. Why Florida and Phoenix? I don't know. I just made this up. Okay. But this creates some relatability. They're like, oh, he's working with some guys in Phoenix. Oh, okay. That's close to me. That's in my kind of state. Interesting. This guy might know what he's doing. He might be able to help me. It increases the perceived likelihood of achievement because it's closer to home, right? If you call someone from Canada and say, hey, I work with people in the U.S., it doesn't really relate. But if you call someone from, you're calling someone from Toronto and you say, hey, I actually work with agents in Toronto, it's like, oh, this guy's local. He might know how to help me. Okay, so this creates a bit of curiosity, opens the door for further conversation. Then you ask the question. And now you could even, one of my favorite questions is, could you take on more deals right now, right? Could you handle more people? In real estate specifically, this is obviously what the script is aimed at. Do you work with sellers at all or just buyers? Okay, just a very simple question to get them to answer, right? And the answer doesn't really matter, but it's just going to help me further my pitch after this, right? If they say sellers, I'm going to pitch them on getting them listings. If they say buyers, I'll pitch them on getting buyers. Okay, simple as that. Now, I threw this in here because people get it a lot. Okay, what if someone says, what's the cost, right? What's the price? What does this cost? Well, if the prospect asks about the price early, there's two ways you can handle this. My favorite way is actually, I did write it here, but I'll tell you this, which is, what do you want it to be? What do you want the price to be? They typically never know, and therefore you can just say, what do you want the price to be? They kind of stutter, and then you can relate the conversation back to the value-driven way, which is using hypotheticals. Okay, this lets the prospect envision the outcome without any commitment. So what I'll say is, what do you want the price to be? I don't know. Okay, well, let me ask you a question. If I brought you 2 listings over the next 90 days, would that be something you could take on? If they say yes, then it's like, okay, cool. Would you be open to having a chat around that? And now it's away from the price, it's on to the value. All right, so this, once again, shifts the conversation away from what's the price to what's the potential value to the customer. There's another example you can use is comparative framing, using comparisons to make the value seem more attainable. Right? For example, hey, if I brought you, what do you want the price to be? I don't know, free, 100 grand, right? What do they say free? It's like, let me ask you a question. If I brought you 2 listings at an average price of $950K, that's about $30K in GCI. If I brought you $30K in GCI and it was guaranteed, or even accompanied, hypothetically speaking, right? Would that be worth 5, 6, 7K if it were guaranteed? Well, yes, if it were guaranteed. Okay, cool. We don't even charge that and we guarantee the same thing. Would you want to have a conversation on how we could potentially do that for you and what we're currently doing for some of our clients in Arizona as well? Boom, go straight for the call. Okay? And so you'll notice if you ever listen to any of my content, I love using if statements. If or hypotheticals. If or hypotheticals, right? If I could guarantee. Or if someone, sometimes I don't even say me. I'd say if somebody could guarantee you 2 listings in the next 30 days, would you want to learn more about how they could maybe do that for you? Right? I'm removing the bias. I'm removing me from the situation. So I'm just asking them, if someone could do this, would you be open? And it makes it easier for them to buy into the idea and say yes. And then I go, great. Well, that's what we do for our guys, for our agents. Would you be open to hopping on a quick call for us to show you how we're doing that and see if it could potentially work for you as well? Okay? So using if statements make it easier for the prospect to say yes because you're not asking them to commit yet, just using hypotheticals. And my favorite one is Willy Wonka, right? I say, hypothetically, let's just pretend we're in Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, right? And some guy there magically got you 2 deals tomorrow. Would you be able to take them on? Yes. Okay. And if you got 2 deals tomorrow and you knew that they were happening, would you be open to exploring how that could potentially happen for you? Yes. Okay, cool. Hypotheticals work really, really well because it's easy for people to buy into these, little story hypothetical things rather than, explicit statements. Okay. Fourth thing is emotional appeal and building confidence. Instead of diving straight into the logic of here's what we do, right? Build confidence and emotional engagement using some of these tactics. So one of the things I like to do is frame the outcome, right? Just focus on how the prospect will feel after getting the result. Now, this is cliche, but can work depending on how you say it, right? So imagine you did get these 2 listings locked in, right? And you're doing what you do, that's just being a realtor. We'll handle the marketing. Would that be something that you'd look into and would make your life a bit easier? Right? I'm just trying to get them to envision what it would look like if we actually did get the result for them, right? Super cliche, super overused, but can work well, all right? Reassure them, use confidence to address fears, right? Listen, and I would phrase this a bit better, if you knew you'd make 30K in the next 30 days, that would be worth at least a 10-minute call, wouldn't it? To see how that could potentially happen for you, right? It's hard to say no to that. Okay, and last thing is building trust. Reiterate that you're doing all the work. Okay, and so, for example, all you need to do is be a realtor and close deals, which is what you signed up for. You went to school to be a realtor, not to be a marketing guy, not to be a content creator, not to be an influencer, not to be an ad manager. No, you went to school to be a realtor. And that's what we're going to let you do, is we're going to take care of all the front-end marketing side, from finding the people to getting the people to qualifying them to booking them right on your calendar. We're going to take care of all that for you. All you have to do is what you do best, which is be a realtor. Okay? Does that sound fair? Well, go for the call. Now, dealing with objections. So you're going to get pushback. And so instead of being defensive and taking it personally, you want to frame these objections as opportunities for deeper engagement. Now, the way I view objection handling on cold call is by something called bulldozing. Most times when people give objections on cold call, they're not real, right? People don't give logistical objections on cold call. They don't. They give emotional objections. And so if you try and handle it logistically with logic of 1 + 1 = 2, it's never going to work, because objections are typically just feelings, and feelings you can't combat with logic. You have to combat with emotions, right? And so one of the ways to do this is when someone gives an objection, you can acknowledge, right? Acknowledge a fear, right? So for example, let's say how do I know it's going to work, right? And it's listen, I understand that you've tried companies before and you're skeptical. Now listen, I can't guarantee that what we'll do will double your lead flow. But I can guarantee you we'll get you listings, because that's on average what we've done statistically over the last 7 months for 14 of our realtors. And it's written in the contract as well. And so I know we can do that for you. Okay, so while I don't know if you'll become the next Ryan Serhan next month or become the top producing agent in your brokerage, I do know we'll get you 2 extra listings. And if we could get you just 2 extra listings, would that be worth a chat? Once again, back to that framing. If we could, getting them to buy into the hypothetical. Another thing you do is address, go back to value. Okay, once again, even if we got you 2 listings, that'd be worth a conversation. Okay, once again, always going back to those hypothetical situations. Last couple things here is confidence and detachment. Okay, one of the key things to sounding good on the cold call, having good tonality, is detaching yourself from the outcome of the call. Right? The more you focus on the process and just the flow state, the easier the conversation becomes. Most people are way too caught up in trying to make the call perfect, and they're way too attached. And therefore, when someone gives an objection or when someone says no, they get really upset and they start to get defensive, and their tonality flops, and the whole call in and of itself flops. And that's what happens when you're too attached. So the mindset shift you need to have is don't care about the sale, care about the prospect. Okay, don't care about the outcome, but care about the prospect. I'm not telling you to not care about the people. I'm just saying don't care about the outcome. Whether they say yes, no, maybe so, it doesn't matter. Detach yourself from the outcome. This is especially good in sales calls. Detach yourself from the outcome of a yes or no, but just care about helping the prospect. Okay? Now, this prevents desperation, which prospects can sense and smell, and nobody likes that. Nobody likes a desperate salesman with commission breath. All right? Other thing is don't be afraid of no, right? No is just a chance for you to get better. And so reframe this rejection as part of the process. It's not personal. It's just part of what happens. Okay. So I've had many people say no to me 100 times. Doesn't matter because I keep calling and improving. Right. Every no gets me closer to a yes. So don't be afraid of this. All right. Last thing when creating scripts, or 2 last things, are creating urgency. Okay, if you don't create urgency, people won't take action now. And so using a bit of urgency can help prospects take action. And so you can frame this in so many different ways, but you just want them to get the sense that they should book now, not later. And so, like, hey, we're working with a select group of agents because we only have so many listings that we can actually deal out. Is this something that you're actually prioritizing now, right? Growing the business, right? Or if I could guarantee you 2 listings this month, would you want to chat about how we could do that for you? Because we're only taking on 5 more agents in the Arizona state, for example. Okay, just small things that can just get them to book now. Now, if you do everything right up here, you won't even have to do this, but just a small thing you can do. Last thing is call to action. Okay, you need to get them to book a call. And as you see, we've been asking for the call many, many times. How would you want to know? Does it sound worth it? Yada, yada, yada. But when it comes down to really get the call to action, you want to end the call with a soft ask that leads to the next step. Okay, this is where you move the prospect toward booking a meeting and agreeing to having a follow-up conversation. And so it's very simple, right? Like, hey, if I were able to just show you the system we're using for our current clients and the results we're getting and how it could potentially work for you, would you be open to learning a bit more about that? Yes, cool. Let's book in a time. All right. So once again, there's no pressure here. It's like, I'm not like, listen, this call, I'm not asking you to commit. I'm not asking you to buy. I'm not asking you to say yes. I'm not asking you to wire me over your entire bank account. Okay. I'm just saying, if we could guarantee you 2 listings in the next 30 days, would that be something worth exploring just to learn a little bit more information about that? It's like, okay, fine. Boom. Go ahead and book the call. Alrighty. So that is how I make scripts. Now, one last thing I want to share is the way I view writing scripts. There's only 4 parts to a cold call script. There is your opener, which is your intro, where you say your things to get the pass through. Okay. Once you get your pass through, you're down to the pitch. Okay. Now it comes down to give the reason, right? So why are you calling? So reason / pitch / offer, right? This is where you say, I'm calling because of blah, 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 blah. This is what we do. Here's our offer. Okay, and then you're going to go down one of 2 paths. You're either going to get questions, which are really just objections, or you're going to have the prospect say something like yes, and then you're going to go down the path of booking a call. This path of questions, okay, and objections leads back to book a call anyway. And so the way you structure your cold call is with an opener. Okay, so your opener, your reason for calling, your pitch, and then your call to action. And then in between all of these, you're going to have to handle some objections, and that's fine. That's normal. Okay, that's okay. But that's just, giving you a bit of my insight on how I write scripts and how I like to frame them. I don't, as you can see, there's not much. I don't have long scripts. I don't like to have a lot of long stuff because you can't control what people are going to say. You literally can't. You have no idea what they're going to say, and therefore, right at your pitch, they may ask, what's the price? Well, now you can't get into your reason for calling or your pitch or your call to action. You have to handle the objections right then and there. Right? And if you have an entire script and you don't know how to actually have conversations with people, this won't go very well, which is why I like to keep my cold calls very simple. Right? I like to just opener, who I am. Okay, so opener is who I am plus like permission to pitch. After they give me permission, I share the reason why I'm calling them specifically, plus the pitch itself. After that, I'll ask one follow-up question. Okay, fuck. follow-up question. After they answer the follow-up question, I go right for the call to action to book the call. And then I'm probably going to have objections I will deal with right then and there. So that is how I think and frame calling. Hopefully, this video is giving you enough information to create your own scripts that work really well so you can make a bunch more money. But don't forget, right? Don't forget, obviously, mindset's a huge part of this. And also, one huge thing is make sure you listen to the prospect and just have normal conversations with them and end every sentence with a question so you take control of the call. If you like this video, let me know in the comment section, and I'll make more of them.